Reporting live from Hyper Clubhouse in Atlanta for Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson. Now, with just 2 weeks until Election Day 2024, Vice President Kamala Harris stopped by New Birth Ministry Baptist Church in Stonecrest, Georgia, and Divine Faith Ministries International in Jonesboro. At New Birth, Harris was seemingly interrupted by several protesters, leading to one of them being escorted out of the church. This comes approximately 1 week after being heckled at a Wisconsin rally where protesters would say Jesus is Lord, and people would assume that Harris's response of "I think you're at the wrong rally" was in response to that. Now, it's unclear if Harris fully understood what the protesters were shouting at her, but despite this, it appears as though Vance and other Republican commentators have taken this moment and decided to use it against Harris. One user on social media would tweet out a video of the church protester being escorted out of the building with the caption, "Kamala Harris has police escort Christians out of their own church for demanding to know why she said that Jesus Christ and Christians don't belong at her rallies." Roland Martin would comment on that particular tweet with a fact check writing, "You lying a-hole. They weren't members."
It's absolutely a damn shame. You mean to tell me you got people being escorted by the police out of the house of God? But somebody got to stand up for the word of God. And when they see an abomination, when they see a Jezebel on that stage, that lady had to speak out. Kamala, how much did you pay that church? And Jamal, what deal did you make? That's a damn shame, New Birth. But that's what discernment is. Only true believers will speak out like that. And being real, I'm sure that lady won't be back at that church. She probably was a member of that church. Again, that lady don't love Christ. And this happened at a black church, and y'all still can't see the demon that this woman is. All these people come to do is praise God, but instead, they get a demon sitting at the front of their pulpit. New Birth, you should be ashamed of your damn self. That don't make no damn sense.
Now, Harris would appear at the churches located just outside of Atlanta as part of her campaign to get black voters to participate in early voting. During Harris's speech, she would state, "There is so much at stake right now. We understand that for us to do good works, it means to do it in the spirit of understanding that our strength is not based on who we beat down, as someone tries to suggest. Our strength is based on who we lift up, and that spirit is very much at stake in these next 16 days, which is, are we a country that honors through faith, and are our deeds the importance of kindness, of support, of understanding the dignity in each other, and the respect that we should have for each other?" Joining me is LA from HBCU Green Fund, and I am really excited to have you here. Of course, not to just talk about this topic, but the importance of voting as we're getting closer and closer to that day. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This was a difficult read through for me in the sense of like being able to digest exactly what I'm reading and what I'm seeing happen on the internet. So I'm really happy to have you here. But before we dive in, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Excited to be here with you today. Enjoying the read through. It's I told you this season of America has been top tier. You know, you never know what you're gonna get in this week's episode. So this one was unique.
Yeah, I feel like I'm watching like a reality show or some like Boondocks episode. I don't know. I want to get your reaction to this, right? Because obviously I have seen this online, but now I'm seeing it in news reports and, you know, all these different things. What's your reaction to seeing this story?
So my first reaction was, yeah, you're right. God is watching and God is laughing at you, bro. Like, this is ridiculous. This is absurd. Like, so much of what life is going to look like for us is on the line with this election. And like, you're in a place of worship arguing with someone who has voluntarily come to this place of worship about a point that almost everybody in this place of worship agrees with. Like that's not up for debate. We're in the house of the Lord at this point, right? Like they're in a church. We kind of know what the vibes are there. So it's like this is really kind of unnecessary and off focus, right? Ultimately, if I'm in front of someone who is asking to be my president, I don't really want to lose the focus of this is my opportunity to really hear what their values are, how they'll lead. Those are the important things. Like, do you care about their personal beliefs? Sure. But particularly in a government where we've chosen to separate church and state, her job is state. So I'm not really focused on church. Yes, we're at one, but she's from the state and I want to hear what her vision is and really kind of ask my questions. So I think to me, anything that distracts from that is just not productive. There's definitely time and place for protests. Like the protests is definitely come out of church, come out of community. But that's not what we're doing here. Clearly, everyone else here is focused on having conversation, which is a productive part of that. Like sometimes you might have a conversation and realize we need to go protest after this, but you at least have the conversation first.
Absolutely. Now, I want to read some tweets to people's reaction to this. So one person tweeted, "Oh, but they were escorted out of church. How intolerant. What would Jesus do?" Then someone said, "This is low. She's a pure scum." I think the thing that surprised me most was it didn't seem like when I first saw these clips, my mind went to like, was she actually even responding to that, said person? Like there's so many things that can be happening, so many different perspectives, but it doesn't seem like people investigate anymore. People don't like think of to ask questions like, okay, wait, let me take a step back. They're just so quick to make a conclusion. Why do you think we're seeing that, especially in this election? It just seems, I'm just seeing more and more headlines and people are just taking it and running with it. What do you think we're seeing?
Because critical thinking is a skill, and skill isn't something God gives you. It's something you have to earn and work for. And so it's really when you see people who have the skill of critical thinking, most of them question that. Because first of all, in my experience, very limited as it is, I do live in DC. Those type of decisions as to whether someone's being removed or not, that is long before Kamala even find out about it. That's Secret Service. There's a whole host of like bodies and decision makers that the leader of the church. There's so many more people that would make that decision before Kamala would even be aware that the person's protesting, that I kind of question any involvement on her part truthfully in what choices are made about venue. That's usually kind of smaller. Like she's focused on the people in front of her is my experience. And that's true with like music artists, pretty much anyone who's been heckled by anyone. You understand that like that's the stage manager. Somebody else is really dealing with that and making that choice. So I don't really think that Kamala herself personally is that wrapped up in it. And people that do are probably inexperienced, right? If you've never been to an event like this, you wouldn't understand that, hey, it's probably the church leadership who said, no, this is our space and we don't want this.
Absolutely. No, I think you make a great point. Critical thinking definitely needs to be back implemented. Now, speaking of events and speaking out in DC, I actually want to kind of transition a little bit because the HBCU Green Fund and Young Black Lawyers Coalition had an event in DC to talk about issues, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that and what issues are you concerned about to young voters?
So we were kind of sitting around together thinking about, hey, we don't really hear the voice of young Black people. You hear a lot of kind of want drone on of like young Black people gotta vote. It's up to you. And like, that's cool. But what's the thing that gets you out there? It's knowing that someone cares about your issues. And how do you know that someone cares if your voice isn't the one that's being heard? Like we are hearing about other people's issues and other people's ballots, whether it's women's issues, different things like that. And so we were like, all right, we need to give young people the opportunity to kind of collectively put their minds together. So we got a group of HBCU students, so from 3 or 4 different HBCUs to gather together in DC at the National Press Club to start having those conversations. Like, what are the issues that are most important to us? And ultimately, what it came kind of to the bottom line is like, how do we have kind of good quality of life in every single area, economically, right? Politically, right? That we feel like we have actual say in our election outcomes and we're not kind of competing with big industries that have tons of money. How do we feel like we are valued members of community? How are those values showing up? Do we feel like it's fair? Do we feel like we're getting our needs met? And then when they're asking the question of kind of what are our needs, it's pretty much we want to have a fair shot at having a good quality of life. Sustainable measures came up. So climate change, air and water, those are kind of the issues that young folks are focused on. It's I want to have a future and secure that. So we got to address climate change, and then how are we rebuilding kind of the structure and community. So that's a lot of what they talked about. It was exciting to see young minds in the room engaging with each other, kind of full teeth, challenging each other's ideas. Because I imagine that this is the work that kind of got us here. When you think about the civil rights movement, when you think about voting rights movements, it was young Black thought leaders being in spaces together, challenging each other, and then coming out with an aligned platform that folks can get behind.
Absolutely. And, we had our owner there as well. And he came back and was just telling us how amazing it was. So I love the work that you all are doing, because it is making a difference, right? And even here in Georgia, early voting, we saw breaking records, early voting in general is breaking all kind of records. So why do you think so many people are voting early?
Because they have an option. Honestly, it was never a matter of people don't want to vote. I think that in large part, voting is not a convenient thing, right? Like, it's on a Tuesday, which is hella random. You don't have the day off. So I think a lot of people who end up not voting, even when they want to, it usually comes down to a circumstance of I had another priority that was very, very big in my life, and that got in the way. So early voting really, as we've seen year over year over year, is opening up that opportunity for folks who I might not be able to make it on a Tuesday because I work all day long. But if I can go any day of the week, pretty much that's convenient for me, or submit an absentee ballot, that's opening up opportunity. And so I think that that's why we're seeing even more people do it. But additionally, I think people are extremely committed, no matter kind of what line they are in terms of party or anything like that. Folks are really deeply committed to getting out and voting. And you see that commitment show up when the first available opportunity, people take it. That's when you know that they mean it. That's when you know that they're concerned, that they care, because as soon as tickets go on sale for a Beyonce concert, I'm hitting the button and I'm paying that bread. So as soon as early voter opens up, like, I'm right there. I'm ready to press the button or drop my ballot off.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm definitely going to be one of those early voters. Now, a lot of our audiences, they are here in Georgia. So, and obviously people can look up, when's the last day early voting for them as well. But when is the last day for voting early here in Georgia?
November 1st is the last day to vote early there in Georgia. If you don't catch that deadline, it's okay. November 5th is election day. So if we miss November 1st, you wake up on the 2nd. All right, you're going to make your plan for November 5th, which is actual election day. Expect there may be a little bit of wait. Go out there prepared, but you have until the 1st to get your early vote in. If not, then all in November 5th. That's your deadline.
Absolutely. Well, as always, I appreciate you joining to give us information, but also just taking the time to comment on some of the things that we see. I am a big advocate of people doing their research. So don't just take our word for it. Really get in and know who you're voting for. Don't let these headlines and social media trends and quick takes, change what you're thinking. Really take the time to do the work, because I just hate seeing the way that things are being swayed. So I appreciate you so much for joining me in on this topic, but you heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. What do you guys think about Kamala Harris's latest hecklers, both at the Wisconsin rally and at New Birth Baptist Church right here in Georgia? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, your vote is your voice. On behalf of HBCU Green Fund, get loud about the issues that impact your community. As we talked about here, vote early or on election day on November 5th. And stay up to date with the latest news and comedy by subscribing right here to our YouTube channel. Check out Hypers Club for all your cool and original merchandise and content. And for our YouTube viewers, if you like this story, send us a super thanks by hitting the button below, and you can tip us what you want to show your support. Reporting live from Hyper Club House in Atlanta for Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson. Did y'all enjoy that? We've got so much more for you at hypersclub.com. Our exclusive interviews and backstage content gives you the chance to feel a part of the club. So what are you waiting for? Come on and join.